Hi friends, my name is Narasimha and I am pursuing my engineering in IRA College. Today, as a part of my AIT concept videos, in the subject of data management and representation, I want to explain a topic named data and sources of data. Data. This is a common word which we come across in our daily life in many usual times. So first of all, what is data? Data are individual facts, statistics, or items of information, often numeric. In a more technical sense, data are a set of values of qualitative or quantitative variables about one or more persons or objects. In computing, data is information that has been translated into a form that is efficient for movement or processing. In our daily life, for performing any action or for getting any reaction or performing any mathematical operations or anything, we need a data. Data is our individual facts or statistics or any information which provides about an object. Next, types of data. There are vast and different types of data which we come across. For example, some of the examples are geographical data or cultural or scientific, financial, statistical, meteorological, natural, and transport, and many more. These all are the different types of data which we come across in our daily life and which are very useful in our life to perform any activities. Next, uses of data. There are unlimited uses of data in daily life, business, profession, research, education, media, development, science, and problem solving works. Not only this, there are many uses of data. The most important thing in all of these processes is decision making, in which data analysis, data mining, data science, and analytics helpful. The most important thing in our daily life is gathering data and performing the actions and getting a proper result. The main and primary step to perform all these actions is requirement of data. Without data, we can't do anything. So, first of all, we need the data. So, in this lecture, I want to explain what is the data and what are the uses of data, and also the sources, means in how many ways we can collect the data and from different source, and what are the sources we can get for collection of data. Next, types of data. This is a proper flow chart which will say about the types of data. Actually, there are two types of data. One is qualitative data and one is quantitative data. Examples of qualitative data are description, diagrams, maps, etc. Welcome. We come to the quantitative data. This is further divided into two types, categorical data and numerical. And the categorical is again divided into two types, nominal, ordinal. Numerical is divided into discrete, continuous. So, first of all, what is qualitative data? Qualitative data does not describe about the quantity of the data. For example, in diagrams and maps or flowcharts, anything, we cannot specify the quantity of data, but we can specify the quality, means the way or what the flowchart is want to explain to us. Next, quantitative data. In categorical and numerical, the examples are nominal. Nominal data describes about the names of the persons or objects or items, etc. Well, coming to the ordinal data describes about the order, means the rank of an object. Well, coming to numerical data. Numerical data is further divided into discrete and continuous. In discrete data, the observations and in continuous data observations are different. In continuous data, there will be a continued way of observations. Next, collection of data. So, for performing the actions, we need data, and how we have to collect it. We'll look after it in this slide. Data collection is a procedure of collecting, measuring, and analyzing accurate insights for research using standard validated techniques. A researchers can evaluate their hypothesis on the basis of collected data. In most cases, data collection is the primary and most important step for research, irrespective of the field of research. The approach of data collection is different for different fields of study, depending on the required information. So, in this slide, I'm going to explain that irrespective of the field of research, in most of the cases, the data collection is a primary step. Next, in different fields of study, the approach of data collection is different because the ways we collect the data is different for different fields. If we want to collect an information from a personality, famous personality, we will prepare a questionnaire. If you want to get information about the elections, we will conduct surveys. So the purpose of collecting the data and the way we are collecting the data are both different in both the cases. So in the third step, I'm saying that the approach of data collection is different for different fields of study depending on the required information. Next, data collection methods. So now I'm to saying about the how we are collecting the data, which I've said before, like surveys or interviews or questionnaire, etc. Here some of the methods, and for every method, pros and cons. Mean the advantages or disadvantages are both are very important for getting to choose the type of method. In first one, in-person interviews. So preparing the questionnaire and conducting the interview for personality to get information or data from that person. Pros means the advantages. In-depth and a high degree of confidence on the data. While coming to the cons, time consuming, expensive, and can be dismissed as anecdotal. Next, mail service. So surveys. Pros can reach anyone and everyone, no barrier. Well, coming to the cons, it's very expensive, data collection errors, and lag time. It will expensive too much of time. Next, phone service. So surveys collected in the phones. And now pros. High degree of confidence in the data collected, reach almost anyone. Well, coming to cons, expensive, cannot self-administrator, need to hire an agency. Because this is a high degree of confidence means the data clarity is very much useful. But while coming to the cons, we have to hire an agency to conduct this type of phone surveys, and it will be somewhat time consuming process, which will be affected on our problem. Next, web or online service. Pros, cheap, can self-administrator, very low probability of data errors. Welcome to the cons. Not all your customers might have an email address, be on the internet. Customers may be wary of divulging information online. For example, in YouTube or in Amazon or in Flipkart or any social media which we are using nowadays, they will conduct a web or online service. For example, in YouTube, we'll come across many surveys where we are watching any videos. So these surveys are useful or will get to the person who is in online or who is using it. The persons who are not in online or not using the internet are not aware of this. So it is a very clear manner of giving the output of a survey, but it will not reach to the many persons. Next, sources of data. Well, we are coming to the actual topic of us, sources of data. Means in how many ways or from where we can collect the data. These are many the important topic. Data collection starts with asking some questions such as what type of data is to be collected and what is the source of the collection. Most of the data collected are of two types, known as qualitative data or as quantitative data, which we have looked before in the before slide. The actual data is then further divided mainly into two types, known as primary data and secondary data. So the sources are actually divided into primary sources and secondary sources. The data which you get gained from the primary sources known as primary data, and which are gained from the secondary sources are known as secondary data. Next, data collection sources. Here's a clear flowchart to look after. By looking this, you can get actual sources. Primary data and secondary data. Primary data, for example, surveys and interviews, which I looked at before in the slides. Secondary data are further divided into classified into two types: internal sources and external sources, which are internal data and external data. Internal data in the organization, external data out of the organization. Next, primary data. The data which is raw, original, and extracted directly from the official sources is known as primary data. This type of data is collected directly by performing techniques such as questionnaires, interviews, and surveys. So first of all, what is this primary data? Primary data, in other words, is known as raw data, means the first hand data. So in this primary data, we can acquire the data from asking like questionnaires, interviews, and surveys, etc. Means the first hand data, the first data can be acquired in this primary data. Few methods of collecting primary data. Interview method. The data collected during the process is through interviewing the target audience by a person called interviewer, and the person who answers the interview is known as the interview. Next, some basic business or product related questions are asked and note that in the form of notes, audio or video, and this data is stored for processing. Second method, survey method. The survey method is a process of research where a list of relevant questions are asked and answers are noted down in the form of text, audio, or video. The survey method can be obtained in both online and offline modes, like through website forms and email, etc. Then that survey answers are stored for analyzing data. Third one, observation method. The observation method is a method of data collection in which the researcher keenly, means eagerly, observes the behavior and practices of the target audience using some data collection tool and stores the observed data in the form of text, audio, video, or any raw formats. Fourth one, experimental method. The experimental method is the process of collecting data through performing experiments, research, and investigation. The most frequently used experimental methods are CRD, RBD, LSD, FD, etc. Block designs. So these are the four types or four methods by which we can get the primary data, as interview method, survey method, observation method, and experimental method. Well, coming to the secondary data, means secondary sources. Secondary data is the data which has already been collected and pursued again for some valid purpose. This type of data is previously recorded for primary data and it has two types of sources, namely internal source and external source. Which I said before, primary data is known as first-hand data. Well, coming to the secondary data, in other words known as second-hand data, means it is acquired data from already collected data, that is primary data. Means the data extracted from the primary data is known as secondary data. It is further classified into two types, internal sources and external sources. What is internal source? These types of data can easily be found within the organization, such as market record, a sales record, transactions, customer data, accounting resources, etc. Means the data collected inside the organization is known as internal source. The cost and time consumption is less in obtaining internal sources. Means it is less time consuming process. Next, external sources. The data which cannot be found at internal organizations and can be gained through external third party resources is external source data. The cost and time consumption is more because this contains a huge amount of data. Example of external sources are government publications, news publications, Register General of India. A simple example is in secondary data. If we want to know about the sales of a company, by going directly to the organization and collecting the data is known as internal source. If we can't collect the data inside the organization and by seeing the web page of the organization or by seeing the podcast, means the audio files of an organization, and collecting data in that sources is known as external source because it is outside of the organization data collection. So other sources other than primary source or secondary source, there are tertiary sources such as sensors data, satellites data, web traffic. Sensors data. With the advancement of lot devices, the sensors of these devices collect data which can be used for sensor data analytics to track the performance and usage of products. Satellite data. Satellites collect a lot of images and data in terabytes on daily basis through surveillance cameras, which can be used to collect useful information. Web traffic. Due to fast and cheaper internet facilities, many formats of data which is uploaded by users on different platforms can be predicted and collected with their permission for data analysis. The search engines also provide their data through keywords and queries searched mostly. So, have said in this PPT such as data and its uses of data and the sources of data. For recall, the sources of data are two types, primary sources and secondary sources. Primary sources examples are interviews, surveys, questionnaire, experiments, etc. While coming to secondary sources, further divided into internal sources and external sources. And internal sources are inside the organization and the external sources are outside the organization. And thank you friends. I hope my lecture is useful and I hope by listening to the lecture, you have gained knowledge about data and sources of data. Thanks for listening.